Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Today, we're going to be going over an article that was written by a fellow YouTuber, Jeb Smith. We're going to be discussing it, and we're going to be playing a game called Yay or Nay. So that way you can decide when we get in certain sections if you agree or disagree. And we have a special guest on this week. We have our favorite lender on YouTube. You know who he is, Mr. Kyle Seagraves with Win the House You Love. And in the meantime, let's just go ahead and run that intro, and then you get to see Kyle. Get ready. Kristina's live stream is about to start.
Tiny homes, big dreams, stacking up the cream. Modular escapes, not just what it seems. Lux in a box, making mad streams. Affordable palace fitting in the beams. Kristina on the stream, showing schemes to the team. Tiny living planes, soaring high supremes. Lux in a box, making mad streams. Affordable palace fitting in the beams.
I really do love my theme song. We're going to go ahead and bring in Kyle Seagraves. But today, while Kyle's coming up, you guys already know who he is. The lender with the most information on YouTube. The best in the business, Mr. Kyle Seagraves. Eddie, if you could put him on the screen. Hello, friend.
Is stacking up the cream a lyric in that song?
Yes.
What in the world does that mean? Is that real?
I don't know. It rhymed.
Okay, all right. So you wrote it. You wrote stacking up the cream.
It rhymed. It rhymed.
Okay, all right.
I never claimed to be a lyricist.
Okay, all right, fair. I wasn't sure if it was like the AI thing did it or all right.
I have another one.
We're stacking up the cream tonight.
Yeah, I have another intro that was created by a subscriber. I'm pretty sure that was AI, but anyways. Oh, here it is. Cash rules everything around me. That's what cream means. Stacking up the cream.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm behind.
I did not know that. I just did it because it rhymed.
Apparently, Eddie's the only one who understands the mastermind behind this.
Yeah, good job. We've got about 83 people in here. I wanted to say hello to MH08. Charlton is in the house. We got King in the City is here. King in the City the first. We got D-Jack. G-Jack is here. So every week he always says, I love this. I'm assuming this is a person, a male. I hope I'm right. But they always say, I love this gal. I love this gal. It's hard to tell when you don't see their Facebook profile pictures. Eric the Blue is here as well. So glad to see everybody in the chat. Today we have no phone calls, none whatsoever, which Kyle is very disappointed about.
Yeah.
So if you guys have any real estate questions, don't forget you can always call the 888 number. So that's 888-255-0197. It's 888-255-0197. And the call is toll free. You don't have to pay anything.
Not SaaS free though.
No. If you guys ever call it that AI, Kristina, it's a simulation of my voice, and it's a train wreck. she's very
no,
mean.
It's not that bad.
It's not that bad. It is that bad. Okay, so without further ado, we are going to pick apart Mr. Jeb Smith's article about how he views Trump's housing plan. And like I said, we're going to play a game. I want you to, it's either, let's play the yay or nay plan. And what I'm going to say is if you agree with this particular paragraph or whatever.
I'm Jeb's biggest hater. So just bring it on. I'm just kidding. Jeb's a friend of mine, but let's tear it apart. I'm ready.
He's a friend of mine as well. So I'm not, this is not Jeb Smith slander. He's a very smart man, but let's dig into his article. It says, here's how Trump's plan will affect the housing market in 2025, a realtor's perspective. Notice I said realtor correctly, because I always get.
Oh, I was about to say something. Realtor.
Realtor. Will the president-elect deliver on the lowering housing costs and cheaper mortgages next year? Look at that guy right there, Jeb. All right. It's not easy to predict how a second Trump presidency might affect the housing market. While much of what's out there is speculation, we can look at the past policies and campaign promises to get a better idea what will happen. For example, Trump has talked about lowering mortgage rates, but for rates to drop to 3%, there will need to be a serious economic downturn, and something that nobody wants. Okay, I agree, but I want to make something clear before we dig any further. Eddie, can you please scroll back up, please, right where we were? Thank you. I want you guys to say, do you agree or disagree with this paragraph? Just put it in the paragraph, yay or nay. I happen to agree. The thing that wasn't clear in this very first paragraph, though, and you need to answer this, does the president make for mortgage interest rates? Can the president tell mortgage interest rates to be at 3%? You. Kyle.
Oh, me? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So, I was just off in my own world over here. No, they definitely cannot. A lot of people think that, though, and a lot of people think that the Federal Reserve controls interest rates. But the president can't control the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve can't control interest rates. So it's more about what's happening on like the secondary market, and a lot of what's going on in our broader economy, not just the U.S. economy, but also the world economy. That impacts mortgage rates a ton. So it really isn't one person switching the dial. It really is a secondary market of a bunch of people controlling the price based on how many bonds they either purchase or sell.
Right. And I do agree in the fact that it's something like catastrophic would have to happen in order for rates to be at 3%. Like another global pandemic, for instance, or a big fall off on the jobs market. And that's what I've always said. It's like the only thing I can see in my perspective that would make rates go down and housing prices come down is if there was a significant loss in jobs where people couldn't pay their mortgages and they had to entice people back into the housing market like we saw in 2008. Right now, there's nothing on the horizon that says that's going to happen. You can hear a lot of whisperings of lots of job layoffs across the United States. I don't know how many people I've seen in the past week that have just gotten laid off this week. They got laid off 10 days before Christmas. I mean, like, what in the world? Mrs. Melanated said, too many people think the president has the power in places that he doesn't. This is true. But they don't. Just FYI, the president doesn't control gas prices either. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
What?
So, throughout my experience in real estate for over 20 years, I've seen firsthand how the White House policies can impact home affordability, lending, and inventory. Some incoming administration's potential moves might help buyers, while others could create new hurdles. Let's break down the policies and what these mean for you. And I'm just going to say this right off the bat. There is no president that has been off my list on policies when it comes to housing policies. This past president, I have pooped all over their housing policy for affordable housing because they had a huge uptick in wanting to create neighborhoods that were completely made of manufactured housing, but they didn't want to look like manufactured housing. So their idea was basically to cut off the chassis and sell an inferior, not up to code for the area product, but say it's a HUD based product and build these neighborhoods. So if you lived in a weather area that had wind zones of XYZ, and now you have this basically manufactured mobile home that's just sitting on a slab, what do you have? Do you even have a house that is, I don't know. Anyways, terrible plan. Talked all about it. So anyways, let's go out there. Next line, we're going to play the yay or nay game.
Well,
again.
Sue Jackson also brought up a great point that the president doesn't control interest rates, but they do control the weather. So just want to make sure that was clarified there.
Yeah, I heard that. Could Trump's policies help the housing market? Here's what some ways Trump's policies might give the housing market a boost. Lower taxes. Trump's previous tax cuts under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Acts of 2017 gave many U.S. households more money while raising taxes for others. However, it's not that easy. If he extends or expands those cuts, it could help families save for a down payment for a home. Changes to the SALT cap, state and local tax deductions, could also bring a tax relief to homeowners in high cost states. But smaller tax receipts from the US government can increase the federal debt deficit. Yes, I agree with this, but the tax cuts, do you believe that Trump's tax cuts allowed people to save more money for a down payment?
Anytime I take a look at what the average person saves through some of these tax differences, it doesn't feel like it's enough to actually like move the needle on either down payment or like monthly affordability, especially because eh, even in that scenario, so let's say that people have more money in their pocket to be able to buy a home. Well, it's not just you, everyone else would have that same amount of money in their pocket theoretically, if you're competing against the same house. So everyone who's looking at that $300,000 house is likely in the same tax bracket as you, getting the same tax benefit that you might be getting under those plans, which again, whenever I take a look at those seem negligible. But that's just going to increase the competition for those homes as well, which would only like you're not isolated from the system. So I feel like, yeah, it's possible, but in terms of like what that actually does for you in the market, I feel like it's pretty insignificant because other people who are competing against the same home would have the same potential benefit that you're getting.
All right, so I want to ask to the chat, is it a yay or nay? Do you think that Trump's tax cuts to the lower middle class would cause people to buy more houses because they have more money in their pocket for a down payment? I want to add to what you're saying, and the fact that everything right now costs more, right? Inflation is still a real thing. Food costs are still a real thing. And I don't see how, like you said, it's not going to be enough for people to be able to save, because a lot of people are in debt right now. They're credit carding their life because they don't have enough money to pay for necessities. So they're almost maxed out on their credits. So if you were to get more money in your pocket, what they'd be doing is paying down their debt before they would ever be saving for their next house. Another thing I want to add on to that is that we have a shortage of supply of first-time home buyers. We pointed that out at the last live stream, right? And one of the main reasons we have such a short supply of first-time home buyers is because we don't have enough first-time homes available to them. Like they said, the median price home being sold that past month when they did that article was $500,000. The median price home in the United States, $500,000. And so like the people in a lot of areas, of course, there are some areas across the United States you can get it cheaper. I know I'm going to get that comment. I can get a house for less than $5. Yes, I know. This is just median across the United States is 500,000. I don't think it's going to be enough. I mean, unless
usually the comments are like, I can't get a shoebox in California for less than $1 million or something like that. I haven't heard the other side.
Yeah. So everybody's saying no, doubtful, nay. Everybody's saying nay. Okay. So let's go to the next one. This is my favorite one. Deregulation. All right. We're going to play the yay, nay game after we go to this next paragraph. Okay. The deregulation. Deregulation. Trump has a history of cutting regulations, and we might see more of that in housing and in lending. Less red tape can make it easier to qualify for a loan, but don't expect that overnight changes. These things take time to trickle down. All right.
Oh, it's my favorite policy, trickle down.
All right. So let me just ask you this. Do you think that there needs to be less red tape in lending today when it comes to people qualifying for a loan?
Oh, that's a tough one. I have a complicated answer to that. I think I don't think removing regulations is going to be helpful for people buying a house. I think that's going to put a lot of people in some hot water. At the same time, the current regulations that exist, I think, are extremely complex, and I feel like don't actually result in better outcomes, like better risk outcomes for like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. I mean, I don't have all the data, that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac does, but I do think that there's probably a lot of expenditure through regulation and how complex the laws are around mortgages and the regulations are around mortgages But at the same time, just deleting them is not the good solution. I'm more of a proponent of take the current regulations, see the problems with them, change them into more efficient regulation rather than slashing them, which seems to be the proposal. Because that seems to like excite people, like just get rid of it, throw it away. I don't think is the best solution, and probably would end up putting people in more dangerous situations, because the reason why the regulations are here to begin with is because when there weren't as many regulations is we had like a full financial meltdown. And a lot of people, right, it's not just this abstract thing. It's like real people that I know several people who went through like bankruptcy because of the situation that they were in.
Yep.
Yeah, that's my complex answer to that question.
RC has made a valid, very valid, extremely valid point. He's not even in office yet. Who knows what he's going to do? No truer words could have been said. Everybody, like, no matter who they are, they get up on that podium. They make all these promises. They get in office and they're like, sorry, guys, couldn't do it. I wanted to, but I just couldn't. But as far as the deregulation thing goes, I want to just point out, and many of the people in my audience I know are of the same age as I am, that remembers what happened during the last financial crash. And I saw lots of friends of mine. This is when I was a hairdresser back in the day that had no business getting a house. And I saw people making the same incomes I was at that time, buying $300,000 to $400,000 houses. And I felt like I was behind because I was like, I only bought $130,000 house before all this. When I had a 7.5% interest rate, and these people were able to get, how did they get into a house that much? I know they don't make that much money. And they were either doing stated income loans or they were doing interest only loans because some lender talked them into it. A lot of people, when you deregulate, people seem to take advantage. I'm not saying all lenders do this, but the ones that do make good money, and a lot of them don't get caught. Some of them do. A friend of mine that was a lender, I used to cut his hair. He got busted, stone cold busted during that time for predatory lending practices. So you have to.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah, I know. Thank God he didn't do my loan. But Eddie and I, before I was a real estate agent, I had no idea. And we had refinanced our house. And I didn't realize, because I didn't know, no one explained the closing document to me. And I went back, and after I went through the whole schooling of real estate and looked back at my refinance documents, I'm like, we gave that freaking loan officer $10,000 to refinance our house.
Oh, wow.
$10,000. So mad. Anyways.
Well, and too, with the way that loans currently are, there's definitely some ways in there they can be restrictive and difficult to qualify for. But debt to income, which is the main ratio that makes up, what a lender would qualify you for, the max loan you qualify for, it takes into account your minimum monthly debt payments plus your future, what is going to be your housing payments, your mortgage payment. So conventional loans, like if you have a good credit score, can go all the way up to 50% of your gross income. That's your pre-tax income. FHA will go even higher than that. We'll go all the way up to just under 57% of your gross income. So on a conventional loan, if you have a high credit score, let's say you make $60,000 a year, so $5,000 a month, you could get qualified with a conventional loan for a mortgage payment of $2,500 a month while making $5,000 a month gross. So your take-home pay is probably closer to, I don't know, maybe a little bit under $4,000 a month, but you could qualify for a $2,500 per month mortgage payment. So the restrictions are pretty, I don't know, you could argue are like pretty intense. No one should be taking on a mortgage payment that's that much, but people can get qualified up to that amount.
When you're like nearly 50% of their income a month is being paid. But you know what? I'll say this though. There is a statistic out there that people are paying more than almost 50% of their income towards rent. So, I mean, so anyways, now back to this. This is the part that really made me like, ugh. And I want to get your opinion about this too, Kyle. And I want everybody in the audience, we're going to play yay or nay. All right. Freddie and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac reform. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac reform. Trump has talked about privatizing these government-backed institutions. Supporters say it could make the mortgage market more competitive. but removing government guarantee could also raise rates. I want everybody in the audience to say yay or nay, and I want to get your input on this, Mr. Kyle Seagraves.
I'm definitely more on the don't privatize Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They've currently been in this weird limbo. They're called GSEs, like government-sponsored enterprises, where they're basically not fully part of the government, but they're sponsored by the government. It's this weird limbo that they're in right now, and there's been talk about them becoming privatized for a long time. I just feel like that's not a good move, because when you go privatize, pretty much the main goal with all private institutions is profit.
Yeah, I was going to say make more money.
Yeah, and so profit, with the way that things are right now, there's not a lot of incentive to make regulations the way, to make it easier for people to access home ownership, or to, make rates lower. There's not a lot of incentive there. So I don't feel like that's the best move to go private.
I agree with you. I do not think that making this a private institution has worked out, because like if you think of healthcare, you took privatized healthcare and made it for profit. What happened? Made the freaking it made healthcare extremely expensive. Anytime now, like when you think about even prisons, once they made them privatized, they made them 10 times more expensive. The whole structure of privatizing is not to help the community at large. It's to help CEOs and shareholders make more profit. I think that is a horrific plan, and I hope it does not go through. Yeah, I'm sorry. Everybody else can disagree with me in the chat, but I think Kristina says no. All right. It looks like most people are agreeing with me. I'm seeing a lot of nays. Yep. And a lot of people are talking about the Wu-Tang Clan. so funny.
I know. I was thinking, man, they're a little bit behind.
Yeah, but maybe they just started it. It's fine. I love it. The infrastructure investment. We're gonna have another yay or nay. Improving infrastructure could create jobs, stimulate local economies, and open up new housing markets. However, that depends how effectively these investments are implemented. I want to say this before you speak. The only plan that I saw when it came out with, like on his sheet was about this long when it came to the idea of building more houses. And what he was saying was to take government lands and turn them into take those government lands and allow for building to happen. But that doesn't take away the fact that, that would be okay in let's just say California, but what does that really do for people in Louisiana? Not much. There's tons of land out here. And that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to bring costs down because there's more places for builders to build. You still have to go through that whole permitting process, which can take, in some areas, it takes up to 10 years. You can buy a piece of land and you can't even freaking build a house for 10 years. So what did you think about this? I know, do we have yay or nays on this?
I'm more on a nay. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really familiar on the federal government's ability to control state regulations. But for things to change with housing, really a lot of local housing regulations need to change to be able to accommodate the amount of inventory that's needed and to lower home prices. I'm just not really familiar with how much the federal government is able to do stuff. Like you're mentioning, it's okay, they have control of federal land, but that's not everywhere. There's not a lot of federal land around me that's going to change things. I think the hardest part with zoning too is I was talking to my parents a couple of weeks ago, and they live in one of those not out in the country kind of thing, but 10 minutes outside of a city where it's neighbors are kind of spaced out a mile or so. And they were we were talking about home prices and stuff, and they're like, man, it's crazy. Why don't home prices come down? I was like, well, what would cause home prices to come down if there was more inventory? But there was a new development that was getting built close, and they weren't super excited about it. I'm like, it's kind of this weird thing where it's everyone wants home prices to come down and there to be more inventory. And to make that happen, there needs to be more homes built, more density, especially in some of these areas. but nobody wants to be the person that's next to. Everyone's like, I want there to be more homes, but I don't want them to be next to me. I don't want it to affect me in any way.
One of my favorite things to do is to look at this small town in Montana that basically has been taken over by celebrities, right? And all the local business owners in the area.
Is that where like Kanye lives and stuff?
I don't know.
That's different.
There's a lot of Hollywood out there. Let's just put it that way. And, other billionaires and everything. And they all complain that, like, we have help wanted posters everywhere. Nobody wants to work. We can't find anybody that wants to work in our area, blah, blah, blah. Nobody can work in that area because they have no place to live. And it got so bad, like during the summer, they needed people to work there so badly that they brought in like pop-up like tiny homes on a parking lot, in a parking lot. And then they put them up. Yep. I don't know what Eddie's showing there. Oh, Eddie, can you bring back the article? But yeah, every time then like a developer came in and said, hey, we're going to build these affordable housing units for rent. They weren't even for sale. They're for rent. And they said, nope. Yeah. Or reportedly build I never can say his name.
Kanye West.
Kanye, thank you. Kanye West is reportedly building a 10-bedroom mansion and 2 underground garages on his $14 million Wyoming ranch. Take a look at the sprawling property last year. Okay. Well, he bought one in California and ruined it and then walked away from it. I don't know. I don't know. So I don't know. If his infrastructure plan is just to give government lands away, by the way, you'd be shocked on how much land the government actually owns. But even like you say, there's no government land near you. I guarantee you there is. You'd be shocked. A lot, even like little slivers of land, a lot. I have I have an old client that bought a piece of property in a neighborhood, and there is a pie-shaped piece that literally you could probably fit maybe 2 trash cans in. And nobody owns it, but you can't say nobody owns it. Well, come to find out after digging and digging and digging, we found out the federal government owns it. That's who owns it. And he wanted to buy it. Nope, they're not going to allow you to have this pie-shaped piece of dirt.
Well, the part of so around here, like the city that I live in, they just started an initiative where it's I'm trying to remember exactly how it's something along the lines of if you live next to, so if your home that you own is next to a vacant lot that the city owns, they'll sell it to you for $15,000, which is a really cool initiative that they're starting here, which is basically, okay, we're effectively giving you this land that you can have because the city is like, well, we want more people to build. We want other things to happen. Like, we don't want to have to take on the cost of this. So giving that land as cheap as possible. But the hard part is that's a city program. It's not even like a state program.
I know.
So I think that's what needs to change is it needs to happen in all these local areas. And I'm just so unfamiliar with what the federal government has control over when it comes to those type of zoning issues.
Well, that's another part of the that was part of Biden's plan, and I think it's going to be part of Trump's plan as well, is addressing some zoning laws because some of them are out of control and they're really ridiculous, and they don't allow for expansions of a community because they're so restrictive. And I think both administrations are going to address it. Biden kind of did it at the last minute. He was like under wire, like that last year he was in there, he started throwing out all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, you're a little too late. You had 3 other years to work on this. Whoopsie. Yeah. All right. So could Trump's policies hurt the housing market? While some policies might help, others can make things a little tougher. Labor shortages and deportations. Stricter immigration policies could reduce the labor force in construction, leading to higher building costs and slower new home development. Areas like Texas and Arizona with booming new construction could be hit the hardest. I want everybody in the game, yay or nay. Do you agree with this paragraph? Let me know in the comment section. What do you have to say, Mr. Kyle Seagraves?
I was waiting. Yeah, what's coming after the Mister? This is one that I am so unfamiliar with. I don't know. I don't have a lot of knowledge.
I'll throw in my 2 cents.
Do it.
Okay, so the cost to deport many people, the numbers that have been thrown out for deportation would cost the American public way too much money. So what if, and this is how my brain thinks, and I mean, you guys in the chat, there's nothing concrete or anything. This is just how my brain thinks. I think that if you were wanting to have a labor force that even costs even less, why not vilify a group of people and put them in imprisonment, So here in Louisiana, we have prisoners and they are forced to work, and they work for peanuts. I think it's like $2.13 or something like that a day. And so what if you imprisoned those people and had them work for $2.13? It costs too much money to send people back. But what if you had those people working under different conditions? I don't know. I'm not saying that's what he's going to do. That's how I just like, sometimes I think about this at night, and this is what it comes up in my brain. I'm like, it would cost way too much money to like get all of the people that are currently undocumented, wrangle them all in and then try to ship them all back. Because not only that, I mean, you have court cases, and I mean, it would take forever. It would cost so much money. It's not cheap. So that's what I think. That's how my brain thinks. If the other thing though is if it scares people enough, and you have a workforce that says, you know what, I'm going to nip this in the bud before it hits me. I'm going to just leave. I'm just not going to work. I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to move to another country. Then you have a shrinking workforce, which we already had in new construction anyways. The workforce in new construction is very, very difficult. People don't want to work those jobs because they're not high paying. It's high stress. You're in the hot weather. Most people don't want to do it. They don't see a future in building a career in construction. So it could cause a bigger problem than we already have. We don't even have enough houses as it is. So yeah.
And just to clarify on the prisons comment you're making, you were speculating what you think could happen. You're not. Right. You weren't suggesting that as your solution. No, I think some people might be misinterpreting the way that you said it as your that's suggestion. What I think.
Oh yeah, yes. I know absolutely 1000% not. I hope in my brain, in my dream of dreams, it's one of those things they will put like, look what we did, but really do nothing. Just satisfy the masses, but really do nothing. I think that the way that all of this has been proposed, it doesn't make any financial sense whatsoever. I think about people that have farm workers and they hire people with work visas for a period of time. Those people are now afraid to come in to work for those work visas. Like, I think it would be more of a financial mess. And I think they'll come up with something else to put a kind of like Band-Aid on the issue. And then they'll say it's resolved. And then we go back to business as usual. That's what I think. That's what I really think is going to happen. But in my brain of like, if we're going to make this extremely evil sounding, this is how it could work out. No, I'm not proposing that. That's what they do. Absolutely. 1000% not. That's disgusting. So anyways, moving on. Okay. Eddie. Higher tariffs. This was one of those conversations that caused quite a stir a couple of live streams ago about tariffs. And there's been a lot of discussion about it. So higher tariff. If Trump imposes tariffs on imported building materials like drywall and lumber, the cost of building materials could rise. Builders aren't likely to eat those costs. They'll pass them on to buyers. Do you agree with this statement? Yay or nay in the chat. We love this game. Yay or nay. Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, if the tariffs are on building materials, yeah, the costs are going to rise. Nobody's absorbing those in their profit margin. Tariffs always get passed on.
Right. And all you have to do is look back during the COVID crisis, right? We had a lumber shortage because the increase of demand, but there also was the lumber costs were going up because there was a tariff on lumber costs. It was one of the reasons that lumber went up, exponentially. So, yeah. if you there's all these different parts that go into building a house too. And if you are tariffing or taxing another country, that other country is not going to absorb the costs. There's absolutely no way. They're going to say, well, dude, in America, you want to buy our product? Well, it's costing us 25% more. So you're going to be buying it for 26% more because we're going to make a little profit off that margin. And then the guy who's going to sell it to you is going to say, all right, well, I paid 26% more and I'm going to charge you 40% more on top of that. So, because they want to increase their profit margin. And that's how products get cost squeezed. And then on top of it all, just the thought or the mention or the notion of tariffs being in the American public's mindset, CEOs that weren't even affected by tariffs are going to use that as a tool to increase prices because they know that you already have it in your brain, you've been conditioned, and they're going to sell it to you at a higher price so they can make more money. So that's how that works. Do you agree?
I agree. Yeah.
You can say you don't. We're not going to fight.
You know what? I'm going to disagree just so we can fight.
All right. All right. Like most people agree that this would cost. I'm reading. Most people are agreeing with that. Eddie, can you go to the next thing right here, please? Please. Can you go to the next paragraph? Yeah. Oh, got that pop up, man. Donald Trump said he can't guarantee that his promised tariffs on key U.S. foreign trade partners won't raise prices for Americans consumers. And he suggested once more that the political rivals and federal officials who pursue legal cases against him should be imprisoned. Okay, let's go back to the other article. What else?
Yeah, that's gonna make the comment section real fun.
Stronger growth equals higher rates. Trump is pro-business and pro-growth, but a stronger economy often means higher inflation. If that happens, the Federal Reserve may have to slow or stop interest rate cuts, which could keep borrowing costs higher. Agree or disagree, sir?
I am going to agree, especially with the way the Federal Reserve is positioned right now. Is they're trying to put the brake on the economy. That's why they've been, the Federal Reserve the federal funds rate has been where it's at for so long, is because they're not seeing that brake pedal working very well. That brake pedal being the Fed funds rate. They're still seeing, we're just now getting inflation under control, but they're still seeing, the other economic data not where they're wanting it to be. Things are still growing faster than they want it to happen, which was why we had that inflation to begin with. And so if we see more growth, the Federal Reserve is probably not going to lay off of the brake until things slow down.
I concur. Does everybody else agree in the chat? Let me know if you agree with it. Well, at the beginning of this article, he had said that there would have to be a substantial economic disaster for them to cut rates. So I agree with that. There would have to be something that causes it. I still say it's the jobs market. Jobs tank, then we'll start seeing more houses that hit the market because they can't pay their mortgage, and then we'll see interest rates go down. But that's what I think is going to be the catalyst to the drop in home prices. Yep. Robin says, I will buy very, very little and only, why do you do that, Eddie? Right as I'm reading it. I will buy very little and only when it's necessary for the next 2 to 4 years. I've been doing that for my whole life. It's my husband that's the spender, believe it or not. Believe it or not, Eddie is the big spender, not me.
Let him take care, let him pamper those cats.
If you saw, never mind. We're going to go off the tangent. All right, let's get to the next paragraph, please. Yeah, some people don't agree with that. That last couple people say, yep. Will Trump make the Fed change its plan for interest rate cuts? This is interesting. Okay, we talked about this. Miss Melanated said it earlier. The president does not control the Federal Reserve, but the economy does influence the central bank's policy decisions, just like Kyle said. Mortgage rates are unlikely to drop significantly unless the economy slows down or we enter in a recession. And no one wants that trade-off. Fed Chair Jerome Powell recently said that the monetary policy depends on the totality of incoming data. If Trump's policies stimulate economic growth and keep inflation high, the Fed may have to pump on the brakes for rate cuts. Do you concur, Kyle Seagraves?
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't, well, I guess to what point? Because there's like several different questions in there. But I mean, to the fact that like, will Trump make the Fed change its plans for interest rate cuts? Directly, no, I don't think so. It seems like Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, has already made it clear, pretty clear that he's not going to be intimidated or swayed by any incoming administration, because the Federal Reserve is supposed to be politically independent. That's its own separate conversation of if that's true or not. But yeah,
he was hired by Trump. He was hired by Trump. Jerome Powell was.
Yeah, I think didn't we talk about the last time I was on?
Yeah,
stream
people in the
a couple
comment
weeks ago?
section were arguing with me. I'm like, I remember distinctly when this dude was hired by him. And Eddie looked it up afterwards. He was like, he was hired. He was hired by Trump. And I was like, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is very similar to the other point, which is, yeah, if we see, the Federal Reserve right now is very focused on slowing down economic growth. So if that continues, like if we see more growth happen, then the Federal Reserve is not going to change their tune, most likely just because a new administration is coming in. It's very unlikely, and it seems like Jerome Powell's already kind of been clear about that happening.
I concur. I agree with you. Yep. All right. Do we agree with this in the chat? But yay or nay while we go down to the next little paragraph.
Whoa, Brittany's entire life is about to instantly and magically improve on 120.
Oh, cool.
All right. Sweet. I want my life to magically change on 120.
Is it because of the drones? Brittany, you have to let us know. Is it the orbs and the drones that's going to make our lives better? I want to know. Does a stronger economy make things better for home buyers? The stronger economy has pros and cons. On the one hand, higher wages and job growth can help home buyers save money for a home and qualify for a mortgage. On the other hand, a strong demand can push home prices higher, especially with inventory so incredibly tight. This gets tricky. A better economy might help your paycheck, but it could also make finding an affordable home even harder. And I want to preface this in the fact that we do not have enough affordable housing in the market currently. Very few markets in the United States have enough smaller homes available for the amount of new home buyers that want to enter the market. If interest rates magically went to 3% tomorrow, all that would do is make home prices go up even more. Do you agree with that statement?
Can you say it one more time?
Do you think that if interest rates tomorrow went to 3%, that home prices would continue to go up and go up even faster?
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't have enough inventory.
Yeah. Already still, like, there absolutely are people feeling pressure of buying, but compared to the inventory we have right now, there's still plenty of people buying. Still a lot of people buying homes, even with the way things are right now. And so you make one dial a little bit easier, that being interest rates, that's only going to bring out more people into, coming into the housing market.
MH08 said the best comment, build, baby, build. I agree. Build, baby, build. The thing is too, though, do you know what the average home buyer age is right now? Like, what is the average people that are in the chat
wasn't
right
like
now? That
30, wasn't like 38 or something like that?
No, right now, the average home buyer today.
I don't know.
57.
So more like second time buyers, or just people who have been waiting a while.
Yeah, like used to be, and this is like one of those things that they always, like up is down and down is up and everything else. But what always drove a housing market, whether it was a good housing market or bad housing market, was first-time home buyers. If the first-time home buyers were dipping out of the market, that meant that home prices were coming down. Well, now the first-time home buyers can't afford the house and they're dipping out, and home prices still increase because there isn't enough inventory. So now the people that are buying, they're because they have, who's got the money? People that are older and have established careers and have paid off things in their life. They're now, the average age is 57. Wild, right?
Yeah.
That was Barbara Corcoran said that last week.
Barbara Corcoran.
Yep. All right. So yeah, I agree. It can make, I agree with this statement. It's going to make things more tricky. It's tricky to walk around that. It's tricky. It's tricky. All right, here we go. Can you have lower taxes and lower interest rates at the same time? The idea of lower interest or lower taxes and lower interest rates sounds great, but it's tough to pull it off. Lower taxes often stimulate the economy, leading to inflation. While inflation rises, the Fed typically increases interest rates to cool things down. And you had made that statement earlier, didn't you, Kyle?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a true statement. I agree with good old Jebediah. That is not his name, I asked.
In my mind, he's Jebediah, though. So that's, I'm with you.
Should you buy a home in 2025? The truth is, it's waiting for the perfect market conditions. Doesn't always pay off. If mortgage rates drop significantly, more buyers will jump in, creating competition and driving up prices. If you're in a good financial position, you have savings, solid credit, and stability in life, 2025 could be the right time for you to buy. Focus on what you can control, like your budget and finding the right home for your needs. Remember, it's less about timing the market and more about timing your life. I 1000 agree. I agree. I concur. Don't you think that's true though? Because like a lot of people will spend too much time timing the market. I remember this in what was it? In it was in 2007, and that's when, like in Florida, we saw the housing recession quicker than the rest of the United States. So the writing was on the wall, and this is when Eddie and I decided to pack up and move. And we had this guy that was constantly looking on Zillow for the price, and he was trying to time the market because he was trying to balance out what he thought was going to happen with interest rates, because more and more people weren't buying at that time. And he was trying to price out this house, and he wanted to buy it for like $50,000 less than what the market was accepting, which Kristina said no. And so then he missed out, because then when it got under the gun and he went and looked at all these houses, he realized that our house was the best deal. And he came back, and then he wanted to put in another offer, and I got another one. And the other offer was actually less money than his, but that guy had jerked us around for so long. I was like, forget him. I'm going with the guy that's wanting to buy it, not the one that wants to play around with
I know there was, this is obviously anecdotal, but I know often what I've been hearing from people who follow my channels, that they're like, well, we were looking at buying, when rates were lower around like 2021-ish, but rates were low and we just wanted prices to keep coming down. Everyone was like putting in a lot of bid, there were tons of bids competing for these homes, and we weren't willing to pay that. And then you flash forward, now, and they're like, I wish we would have bought then, because now prices are even higher and the rates substantially higher. And so I often equate it to, houses are obviously different than stocks, but if you're looking at like stocks, for instance, if you look at anybody who is in the stock world for any period of time, you realize like it really is a little bit of a gamble. If you look at some of the smartest, most sophisticated hedge fund managers who manage billions of dollars worth of investments in stocks, their success rate isn't much higher than the success rate of a flip of a coin. There's not, you can't really time the market. All this boils down to timing the market in the stock world is really not the smartest thing to do. Most people try to get in a smart way, and in a way where they're not over leveraging themselves. I think the same thing is true with housing. Any sort of investment, it really isn't, you're not trying to time the market. In the stock trading world, there's the phrase like, don't try to catch a falling knife, which is like, don't, if you see prices go down, the goal isn't to try to catch it at the right point, because timing is almost impossible to do. And it really becomes one of those things where it's like, okay, well, when you make money, when you made the right choice, it's always, your knowledge and you're super smart. But if you made the bad choice, you were just unlucky. But we don't apply that same thing to housing. And I think a lot of people are trying to commoditize buying their first home, the home where they're like trying to raise a family. They actually want, like, there's a whole lifestyle that comes with buying a home, that it's going to change your lifestyle. And so you want that house to actually accommodate what you want. But then people are just kind of chopping it up to, well, how can I make sure that I make the most amount of money on it possible, or that I can buy it as cheap as possible? And so I just think commoditizing it that way is probably not the best thing, because you just don't know what's going to happen. You may buy now and see things increase, and you may buy now and things go the other direction, but it's really impossible to know. It's only until we look back that we can see, was that the right decision or not? So it really is more like, are you financially ready? Does it accommodate the lifestyle that you want? And if so, if that makes sense, if it's sound for you to purchase a home, then I think that can be a good decision for you. But for someone else who's in that position where, okay, maybe it's going to be too much for them to take on their monthly payment, it's going to be too risky. Maybe you have other goals. You need to take care of some credit card debt, or you need to tackle, catching up on retirement savings. That might be the better option for you, looking at like overall financial health, not just this one piece of the puzzle, which is, buying your first home.
I always say, like, buying a house at an overprice or buying a house underpriced, like people say, oh, I'm afraid I'm going to buy it overpriced. Everything washes in 10 years. Like the guy who bought my house at the time, everybody says, oh, you overpaid for it, because not even a year later, all the home prices tanked, right? But he stayed in that house at that price that whole time, and then he sold it for a profit in 10 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everything's a wash after 10 years when it comes to a house.
Yeah. Because even if you look, and obviously this is taking national data, real estate is very local, market specific. But if you look at the median home price, if you bought the home at the height, the chart for median home price kind of, let's see, it's backwards this way. Let me try to do it this way so it makes sense. Okay, it ticks up and up and up, up to 2008. We hit this little peak, and then 2008 happens and it goes boo right down here. And then about 3 more years later, it starts trickling back up. That distance, if you bought at the height of 2008, the highest median home price then, it would take you 6 years to break even on your money. So you only lose money if you sold it within that period of time. But if you waited 6 years, then you wouldn't have lost any money. And the average person stays in their home for 10 years. So yeah, that 10-year point, that 10-year person still would have bought money, even if they bought at the peak. And again, obviously that's national data, and we can only use history to try to inform future decisions. We don't know what the future is going to look like. But when we look at those historical peaks and troughs, the 2008 crash was 6 years to recoup your money. And there were 2 other periods within the past 50 years, and those each had 3 years to break even on your money. If you bought at the height, rode out the dip, and then, it would take you 3 years to recoup that money, those 2 other instances.
I tell people, if you're not planning on staying in your house or at least 7 years, or, like the minimum 5 years, don't buy a house. If you're like already have it in your brain, well, I'm only going to live here for 3 to 4 years, don't buy a house. Go get yourself, rent something, and that way you can find something you're going to stay in permanently. Kathy has a question for us. Says, question, we're moving to Kentucky. We have a property purchase and wondered if it would be more costly to build a barndominium over a stick-built house. So barndominiums in each state are going to cost you a little bit more. It depends. Like in Texas, you're going to be better off, because it may have cost you more to build it, but it's offset because of how much you save in property taxes. I don't know if you know anything about Texas property taxes. They're freaking high. They're freaking high because there's no state tax, so they throw it in the property taxes. That being said, I don't know what it would be in Kentucky. I would definitely go ahead and take your plans to different builders and price them out and find out how much more or less it would be, and then find out if there's any kind of tax credit in Kentucky or wherever you're moving, because it is considered an agricultural building, and you might actually get some kind of tax break because it is an agricultural building. Also, with that being said, sometimes what they'll say is you have to grow something. So I know of a person who started growing microgreens in their house in order to get that tax deduction. So she has a microgreens farm inside her house growing.
Is that a code word for something else?
No, really, honestly,
Oh,
she
okay.
sells them to
Okay.
restaurants. They're
Oh,
microgreens. You know, like
I
you
do
put
love
those little
microgreens.
tiny spinaches on the top of your
I
little caviar and stuff.
I
It's for the
okay, I
fancy
don't
restaurant.
caviar is gross, but I do love microgreens.
I do too. I like a salad. Charlton has a question. It said Trump's keeps saying energy causes inflation. Do you think he's stuck as real estate person stuck in 1974 turned down was oil embargo? Do you think he's stuck as a real estate person? Stuck meaning like in 1974, the oil embargo. The only thing I'm going to say, and actually I just pulled up this article before we started, right? And it was, let me pull this up. This was a good question, Charlton. So
Microgreens are the little sprout, before it turns into a full plant. When the seeds start sprouting. That's what someone asked what a microgreen was.
Yeah, they're like little, and they're like sweeter, and they have a better bite, and they're not as like,
and they're real cute,
and they're really cute on a plate. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
they do add some good, but basically they were saying, I don't know if you guys heard this. I apparently clicked out of the article, but so we have some of the energy here in the United States is actually brought from Canada. And so the president is it the president or prime minister? I don't know, of Canada. The guy that runs
Prime Minister, I believe.
Yeah, prime minister. He runs the show. He said that, if these tariffs are going to be implemented in the way that they've been proposed, Canada has levers to pull to make it more uncomfortable for the United States because they're not going to be strong armed. Basically, that's what they're saying. And we get a lot of their natural gas to a lot of northern states from Canada. And he's prepared. He's saying, I don't know if it's a threat, how people talk. He's preparing in articles to say that, like, if this goes through, we're just going to turn it off. We're going to make it very difficult for those people that lived in northern states. So, here's the microgreens. Yes, microgreens. If you want to, so like I was saying, if you're going to build that bardominium and you need to have some kind of agricultural thing, she only has one wall full of
Whoa.
micro wall. What?
I can easily grow these indoors? Are you kidding me?
Yes, you can easily grow microgreens so go build yourself a bardominium, right? And if you need a loan, get a USDA loan, and then you can get a federal grant because now you're going to be a farmer and you're going to produce microgreens. And then you get a tax incentive on top of it all. Just saying.
Wow. I have a small microgreen story.
Does it have to do with housing?
Kind of.
Okay.
So when was it? Was it Colorado that first made cannabis legal?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Sometime around then, a lot of lenders were running into issues because there were people employed by these companies. Right. But the federal regulations, mortgage regulations don't have any guidance on what you should do with that type of income, especially because it's still federally illegal. And so at that time, there were several loan officers that were basically classifying the industry as microgreens.
I wasn't even code wording it. I was genuinely saying microgreens.
That's why my thought was first there, because I was like, oh, interesting. Oh, you're talking about real microgreens.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. Well,
I was not code wording it. This question's for you from Kevin. It says, I picked a great day to tune in to Kyle. He has a loan question. I've been pre-approved for a construction loan to FHA loan. When does the closing cost become a conversation? Or when does the closing cost become conventional, maybe? No one has mentioned it.
I do think they mean a conversation.
Okay.
And I replied to Kevin in the chat a little bit ago, but I can just clarify. Really, when you get pre-approved, you should be getting an estimate of your closing costs. There's no reason why at the pre-approval you can't get an estimate. You should be able to see what your monthly payment is, and then all of those upfront costs as well at the pre-approval stage. So if no one's told you, it's not necessarily your fault. There are a lot of lenders that just don't share that with people, which is strange to me. But I would just say, hey, I need a closing cost worksheet to move forward, or I need a cost estimate to move forward.
Not everybody's as good as Kyle Seagraves. That's why he's the number one
Sure.
number one loan guy on YouTube.
Number one loan guy.
Number one loan guy. America's lender.
and soon to be number one microgreen grower.
Yeah.
Both kinds.
Build yourself a barndominium. Get yourself a tax credit. Holy cow, we have a surprise guest.
Are you guys here
Welcome.
talking crap about me?
Yes, I was totally talking crap about you, Jeb Smith.
Wow. Unbelievable.
This is embarrassing.
We went through your article, paragraph by paragraph. I had the audience give me a yay or nay if they agreed with you, and then we had a little side chat on some of it. So, you left it very open for discussion, which was great. And I totally made a comment.
How much of it was ChatGPT? How much was ChatGPT, Jeb?
Well, the structure of it is all CNET. So CNET is the one. So I write the article initially, and then they pose the questions, and then I structure it in their outline. And then so ChatGPT, very little in that at all. I mean, little to nothing really, other than taking the video. So yeah, and breaking it.
I have Jeb, I made a complete boob of myself because I was explaining what this immigration thing could look like. And people were like, are you proposing that, Kristina? And I'm like, absolutely not. No. Well, no.
As I said, when you and I were talking initially, like the conversation could go either way because you truly don't know what's going to happen and how it's going to impact. Right. And so and they wanted an article from one side. So you kind of have a non somewhat biased view of it, but we all still have our biases, right? And so I think you could have some of it impact and some of it not impact at all. So
no, I thought it was very diplomatic. I thought the whole article was very like it could look like this and it could look like that.
Well, that was the way that I really wanted it to look. So but yeah, so
good job, Jeb. And
whenever you rewatch this, our review is scathing. If you're not crying by the end.
No, that's awesome.
Rated you.
Just so you know, I haven't seen any of it. I just literally got from a soccer tournament. We lost, by the way. We lost in the soccer tournament. So, but I'm back now and away from my kids, so that's all good.
Oh, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you letting me do this article. I called Jeb ahead of time and said, can I do it? He's like, do it.
No, absolutely. Like, okay. Always do it.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you. And I'll let you get back to your day. I love the surroundings, man. Look, you can't you can never have a bad day there.
No, it's probably 65 outside, so it's pretty nice at the moment. But got a sweatshirt on because it's not as warm as it looks.
Yeah, a little chilly. Got a little cold. Feel a little breezy.
Life could be worse. How's that? It's all good.
Well, you look great, and you look like you're having I'm sorry you missed out on your tournament. I knew that
all good. Hopefully, you guys got lots of views and lots of comments, and this thing just goes bananas for it.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. But all the same, congratulations. I didn't know they even wrote articles for CNET. Everybody does.
Yeah, I've been doing it for like a year or so now. So they pay you to write articles, so it's it's not for free, which is nice. But yeah, it's kind of cool. And then they plug videos in there occasionally on them. So
well, I love it.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, if you guys want to get in there, let me know. I'll have them reach out. They're always looking for people.
I would love to do that for affordable housing options. All I want to talk about is different ones and how Gen Z could get into housing. That's all I want to talk about.
I will make the connection.
See, all I had to do is shred him on a live stream, and now he's going to get me with connections. How does that make me look like a boob?
I don't enjoy. I'm not one. I don't enjoy the writing aspect, right? I'm more of a just get on and talk about my, whatever. So I have to think through the writing piece. But fortunately, they have somebody on the other side that edits, and so they edit, send me back comments or what have you. So it's they're much better on that side. They have a true like media piece with different job titles, whereas I'm just a one man shop over here. So they actually take what I say and make it sound better.
Yeah. Well, if
Nice.
anybody doesn't know, he has a video attached to this specific topic, and he puts out a video. I mean, puts out a article on CNET once a month. And I went back. I didn't even know you had done this before. This was the first time it ever popped up on my Google top articles. So it was fantastic. It was good to see you. And thank you so much for
Good afternoon, guys. Hope you enjoy the rest of it. Kyle, you look like you're cozy in a corner there by a fireplace. It looks
no fireplace, unfortunately, but I don't have palm trees around me. It's actually cold outside.
There's one right behind your head, dude. There's a palm tree right behind your head.
Yeah, I forgot about the IKEA fake palm tree back here.
These are actually real, but you know, I didn't plant these. These aren't planted.
They look kind of fake.
It's all AI.
Nevertheless, it's good to see you both. And
Thanks,
I'll leave so you can get back to the the name calling and all that good stuff.
Oh yeah, we're going right back to it. Audience, this is when you get your chance to like really slam on Jeb. Go
exactly.
For it.
All right. See you guys.
See you, Jeb.
All right. Bye,
Adios.
Jeb. Yep. We're gonna go ahead and put Jeb's channel on the screen, but it's just Jeb Smith. I think that's all it is. I don't think he has a specific channel name, but other than his name, Jeb Smith.
Yeah, I think it's just Jeb Smith.
Yeah.
Now we can
there
say
he
bad
is.
stuff.
Jeb Smith, real estate and mortgage education. There you are. He's a good friend of mine. So he even actually gave me the picture for the thumbnail so we could discuss everything. He did. I hadn't sent it to me because it was blurry.
Well, my first thought when I saw the thumbnail was I was like, oh man, are we actually, I wasn't prepared to do a full-on
roast
attack. Yeah, full-on roast of Jeb. And then I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's played up a little bit.
Yeah, no, it was all in good fun, good fun. And, it's just a discussion. That's all these articles really are. Unless he was dead wrong and flat out dead wrong, I would have been like, Jeb, come on, dude. And he wouldn't have cared. Yeah. Like, we had a discussion about it, that we know how these things are, and they're just opinions, not all of our opinions are correct. And like somebody said earlier in the chat, the guy isn't even in office yet. All we're hearing is just people just flapping their lips and making predictions, pulling out their crystal ball. Oh, the whole world is going to end. And the other one's like, no, everything's going to be fantastic. We're going to live in utopia land. And then we're going to last somewhere in the middle. That's where we're all going to land. It's going to be interesting to see what happens and how it's all going to play out. But in the meantime, if you're really wanting good real estate, solid information about mortgages, you're going to want to go over to Win the House You Love and see Mr. Kyle Seagraves and subscribe to his channel because he has the best information, most current information when it comes to loans. Believe it or not, Jeb does too. He actually has his loan officer license as well. Did you know that?
I know he used to. Does he still have it?
Yep, sure does. Sure does.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Nice.
So you go over there, Kyle Seagraves. He doesn't have his facial fuzz on his profile picture, but that is him. That is him.
That is me.
Give him a
in all my AI glory.
Look, next week, I really would love to get some more call-in questions about real estate. And you can call into the Evil Mean Real Estate AI, Kristina, and leave a message with your real estate question with her. She may interrupt you. Just keep talking over her because she's super rude. I've tried to fix her, but she's just not getting any friendlier. She's just getting ruder. But that number is 888-255-0197. That's 888-255-0197. If you need to get a hold of me and you need to talk to me about anything in particular, especially if you're looking for somebody to help you with your real estate needs, go over to my website here, KristinaSmallhorn.com. Click on any of the pink buttons, fill out the form, make sure you leave your phone number so I can go ahead and give you a call. And we'll talk about your real estate needs. I've been a little behind because I've been traveling quite a bit. Tomorrow, I will be answering all those calls. I have 15 that I need to answer. So, I will get a hold of you. If you need anything from me, just go ahead and fill out that form. If you want to fill it out again, if you didn't get an answer from me last week, go ahead and fill it out again. I will get to you tomorrow. I promise. And if you want to share this with, I have so much to want to play. If you want to share this with your friends, go over to anywhere you listen to podcasts, Real Estate with Everyone for Everyone with Kristina Smallhorn. This episode will be uploaded tomorrow by Eddie, Mr. Smallhorn. He's going to be putting it up on there on Monday, and you can share it with your friends and family. Everybody, I would like to say say a very special thank you to Jeb Smith for being a good sport about this and letting me use his image on my thumbnail. And I would like to say thank you to Kyle Seagraves. Yay! For being a part of this
Thank you
live.
as always.
Thank you as always. You always are the perfect person to have on here when we're talking about rates and stuff like that, because I know my wheelhouse. I know my lane. I'm not going to talk about rates. I can tell you what I think, but I'm not going to tell you what to do. That's for sure. That is
Sure.
Kyle's job.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on. I always enjoy it.
Awesome. Thank you. And I want to say thank you to all of our moderators here that always keep the chat very clean. I appreciate you. Rick Smith said, I called collect, and AI Kristina hung up on me.
Oh, can it do that? It can just hang up?
Well, I don't know. No, most of the time, like there's like, if anybody calls and they don't say anything, the AI will just sit there and we'll say, is there anybody there? Do you have a real estate question? I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. She'll just keep talking because there's nobody there. But yeah, AI, call the number. You'll see. There's people that fight with her. So go ahead and get in a real estate conversation and a fight with the AI evil Kristina.
If you just want to talk about your day, need someone to listen to you, spouse isn't listening to you anymore, just call AI Kristina. She's a little sassy, but you need that sass. You need a little rough talking to. Yeah, she's got you covered.
She's got you covered. She's a little, she's going to kick you around. So
yeah, sometimes you need that. I know you need that.
I do. Do I?
Not you, the viewer. That person who's watching right now.
Eddie got to give the Magic Mike close-ups and he doubles the ratings. I think not. And with that, we're going to close this out. Eddie, go ahead and close the outro, please. We're going to get a little jamming. Yeah, I have a really cool outro. Just hit the end button.
Kristina signing off. This dream's about to close. Tiny homes, big dreams, the wisdom she bestows. Real estate queen, always keeping us in toes. Hustle on 1,000, every vibe she shows.